and try to finish on time too as well. So today's Friday, 3 o'clock. We're at the pier, and let's take a look at our first order of business. So, one of the first things. Oh wow, everyone's showing up more on time now. Okay, all right. Tandy, welcome in. Okay, one of the first things we want to talk about as part of old business from the last cycle was this discussion about how to keep our OKRs and SLAs aligned. So what I've done is this. What we agree to do is that every leadership guild meeting will have a discussion about what SLAs are currently being implemented and if they're relevant. So the the SLAs are loading here on this table. Hi, Tendi. Tendi, where are you? You're Despacito. I think there's a little bit of lag. Okay, I see Dominic pretty clearly. I see myself lagging. And, okay. Dom, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's take a look and see how these squad workflow and SLAs are working so far. So let's see. Currently, we got a few owner or the upper management, and there's low income jobs like you're basically everyone else. You might have a few key managers, but not a lot. You'll have maybe one owner, maybe one general manager, five executive managers, and then maybe 15 middle managers, and hundreds of normal sort of line service jobs. So the problem that we're facing with, let's say, recruiting and team building and all this is that there isn't really a thick middle class in the hospitality industry in Bali traditionally. And a lot of innovation traditionally has been done abroad and then imported to Bali. So, for example, the concept of a beach club. Most beach clubs are modeled after Ibiza style Spanish type beach clubs, and they're just taking that model and applying it here. So, the amount of native grown of like actual Balinese or Indonesian inspired innovation has been relatively limited too as well. But that's our industry. Okay, so then after you pick an industry and a location, we pick a niche. So we have to focus on, okay, what is it in Bali in the hospitality industry that Bukit Vista will do? And so that niche was on home sharing and a modern style of property management. Dominic, what do you think about this niche? What are the advantages of this niche?
Sorry, sir?
Okay, what are the advantages of the niche of home sharing and modern property management?
I'm sorry, I don't really get it.
Okay,
Like,
so we're talking about innovation here, Dominic, and so what I'm building up is I'm building up a roadmap showing where we've been, why we think we're going to be an innovative hospitality company, and where we're going to go into the future. So our very first choice was that we choose Bali to be our location. We choose the hospitality industry to be our industry. The next part is we have to choose a niche. We have to choose what part of the hospitality industry we want to work in. Do we want to work in food and beverage? Do we want to work on cleaning services? Do we want to work on drapery and furniture? So we have to pick that niche. What niche has Bukit Vista picked?
Bukit Vista is in property management.
Yes, it's in property management and home sharing. But it's not
Yeah.
like traditional property management. It's in this new style of property management that's very modern. So we're choosing this industry because this industry is the most highly innovative industry, a niche of the traditional industry. Let's say, for example, you work on automobiles. If you work on gas-powered automobiles, you cannot say that you're innovative because gas-powered automobiles have been around for a very long time. But if you work on if you work on what in the automotive industry, would suggest that you are innovative. What is the most innovative work being done in the auto industry right now? Electric cars, very good, cool dude. What is the most innovative work being done in the fashion industry right now? Dominic.
In what industry, sir?
Fashion. What's the most innovative work being done in the fashion industry now?
Uh, Online shopping.
Yes. Okay, very good. Very good. Online shopping. Rental fashion, as we talked about, right? Rent the runway. So instead of buying your clothes, you just rent your clothes, and they keep on sending you new clothes. And the other one is perhaps fast fashion. Brands like Uniqlo, H&M. These are essentially changing fashion so quickly that it's far outpacing the pace of innovation.
Using technology to design the fashion, or
Yes.
designing things and all this kind of stuff.
Yes, using technology and short feedback loops to predict what people will buy and then iterating quickly to do that. So you have to pick your niche once you're in the industry, and we picked home sharing and property management. And so this is an important decision because this allows us to actually grow in this new industry. This is an innovative industry where a lot of things have not been determined yet. Who the big players are, what is the way to build this kind of company, what kind of technologies you use, what kind of ecosystems will you have. These are all open and very, very open for choice. So that is part of the next choice that we've made to participate in being an innovative hospitality company. So the pros are that it is easier to have an important role in this industry if you start early, and there's an opportunity to stay in a leading position if we've already become a leader. But the hard part is that it is taking a lot of energy, right? Just like the event that we just had, people are saying, "Oh yeah, we should do this, we should do this, we should do this." Well, if this is the second or third company that does these events, none of these are choices anymore. You can just follow what the first person did. So if you're doing the first time, you're going to face all the uncertainty. You're going to have the chicken and the egg problem. What needs to come first, the chicken and the egg. Okay, so that's the part. That's the second choice that we've made to enter the realm of the most innovative hospitality company. Okay, so then the next one is about our team, and the next part about our team is we've made some choices about how to compose our teams. We've chosen to use mostly people who are local, people who are young, college students with less experience. So that still is a flexible decision. We have not fully built all the teams that we want, and the reason we're doing it is because we need to have fast and agile teams to solve problems. And of course, this has pros and cons too. We're hiring people with growth mindset. We're hiring people who are unshaped so that we can shape where they're going to be. And we think that it's easier and also less expensive than hiring senior or foreign talent in this particular case. But similarly, we're also slower because we have long training cycles and long hiring cycles, and we cannot hire off-the-shelf people. We can't just hire a role that already exists. We have to hire people and then create them into the role that we need. So that makes it really difficult to supply enough people at the right time. And it takes a very long time to build and align the culture. Okay, and this is kind of like the world where we're in right now. We have a mission-driven culture. So you can have a different type of culture. You can have a culture of, let's say, do what the fuck I tell you to do culture, right? Which is like the way factories work, which is like maybe the world, other people have come to Bukit Vista, that's the way things work. But we don't want to have that culture because we want to have a core value-driven culture. Tendi, what do you think a core value-driven culture looks like?
Okay. It's kind of like the the core value looks like the team is like have a same vision
Mm-hmm.
for all the team, like have other first, and then so all the team like remember,
Mm-hmm.
and then not like a loss. So we have like a direction to for remember.
Okay, very move towards that. And the idea behind that is that this is a bottom-up innovation culture. So one of the problems in traditional companies that make, let's say, a traditional company less innovative is that they have a very long chain of communication. Dominic knows this. She's worked in hotels. Let's say, Dominic, if you have a problem in a room, how long does it usually take for that problem to get solved?
Long enough.
Long enough. And why does it take a longer time to solve that problem, Dominic?
Because I have to talk with the supervisor to the manager to the general manager.
Right. So any problem needs to go all the way up the chain of command and then all the way down the chain of command because people who are closest to the problem, such as maybe housekeepers, such as waiters, they don't have the power to solve the problem. They don't have the authority, they don't have the skill, they don't have the expertise, they don't have the training, and they just can't really do anything about that. So that makes that really not innovative. You cannot even fix something, even if you want to fix something. So part of it is that we're trying to build a bottom-up innovation culture. Are we there yet, guys? Do you think we're actually in a bottom-up innovation culture yet? Tendi, what do you think?
Mm, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, Kuldeep, what do you think?
We are moving towards it slowly.
Okay.
Not fully. Yeah.
Right. Yes, I would agree. A bottom-up innovation culture could look like this. So let's say Tendi goes and he discovers that there is a blood stain on a sheet at Despacito. Tendi then tells the owner, "Hey, look, there's a," and he changes it, and it's done, right? So you don't need to. Tendi doesn't need to ask like somebody Rafik, and Rafik then asks Jing, and then Jing talks to the owner, and then so on and so forth. So we want to have a short feedback loop. Okay. Currently, yeah, you're right. That's not actually happening, but that's our goal, right? That's our goal, and that's what we need to have in order to have true innovation culture in a hospitality company. Okay, so
More effective way to solve problem and working.
very good. Thank you very much, Dominic. But how? How does Lean Agile work? Kuldeep.
People don't have to wait for someone to like give you instruction, and you can directly go with. So if you know something, then you can directly work on it.
Okay.
Without approval from someone.
That's
Yeah.
autonomy, but that's not necessarily Lean Agile. Let's go to Rafik. Rafik, what do you think Lean Agile means? Okay. Okay. All right. This is important, and this is pretty key. If we don't have leadership understanding in Lean Agile, then it's hard to transmit this culture outwards. Lean Agile, what it means is this: lean meaning you're not wasteful. Okay. So let me give you an example of waste. Let's say, for example, we spend months working on a project to distribute iPads to all the properties. Okay. So we do this idea, then we talk to each other, then we go buy the software program, and then we buy 165 iPads, and then we roll it out, and then we realize nobody uses it, right? That's not lean. That's very, very fat. That can result in a catastrophic disaster. We spent months and a lot of money on a project that doesn't work. Okay? So lean means instead of doing that, you come up with an MVP. You come up with a proof of concept. So instead of putting it out to 100 properties, you put it to one property. You build. That's the first step. Then you measure. You take a look and you see, what are people going to do about this? Does it fit? Does it have the guest experience that you're looking for? Is it easy to maintain? Does it get stolen? All these are real world practical feedback that you need to get. And then the next step is you iterate. You take the parts that work and you keep it, and then you change the parts that don't work, and you rebuild again. So you rebuild, and then you measure again, and then you take the measurement and you keep on going around like that. And when it is finally done, you have a very good product, then you can scale out, right? So that way, essentially what you build is something that what the market really wants. Many projects in technology built by very smart people failed. Does anybody remember Google Plus? Right? Does anybody remember Path? Okay, so or could. So this involved thousands of engineering hours, which resulted in millions of dollars of spend and millions of dollars of server fees and whatnot, and ultimately they didn't really work. Now these products are actually, they've already been MVP'd, right? So that part is okay. But there are other examples of where waste can happen. Okay, so that's the part about Lean Agile. Is that more clear now for you, Rafik? Yeah? Okay, great. So we want to have that, because if we don't do Lean Agile, then we have the same problems hotels will do. What is my favorite example of hotel waste? Does anyone know? Does anyone know? Okay, Dominic. I think I've shared this one story with you, Dominic, about waste and hotels at the hotels in Pandawa. Do you recall what it was?
Yeah, actually the managerial things, right? That
Yeah.
it's such a waste, because when you have a problem, you need to reconfirm with this first, and then that another manager, but you cannot like directly solving the problem with you and the guest. While actually probably the on-site team that the one that meet the guests.
Yes. Okay, that's core value driven, but that's not an example yet of Lean Agile. There is another example of lean agile that I want to iterate. Does anybody know what the name of those hotels being built in Pandawa are called? Tendi, do you remember the names of those new hotels being built in Pandawa?
Mm, I don't
Okay,
remember.
Rafik, you know the new hotels being built in Pandawa, right?
Just beside the Puriman Tower.
Yes, just besides Puri Pandawa, there's three huge construction sites with
Yeah,
okay,
I'm not sure the name.
Open Oriental, and then there's a few other large hotels. This is an example of not lean and not agile, and I'll tell you what happened here. So if you go down to the south of Bali and you go to Pandawa Beach, you'll see a gigantic construction site at Pandawa. And what that construction, they decided that they wanted to build on this site, right? They decided that they would take a construction team and build a five-star luxury resort because that was what was selling really well and highly profitable 15 years ago. And so then they went and they hired architects, and the architects took many years to create their design, and then they had to go to the government to get planning approval, and then the government took many years to get approved the design, and then so on and so forth. But what's happened now is a disaster. It's a disaster. So what's happened now is that they took 10 years to essentially design and build and approve of contractor and get all these things in, that they're going to build another five-star resort with another 1,000 rooms on Pandawa. Now, do you think, Rafik, that any of these rooms will see very good occupancy or return? No, right? Why do you think that these rooms that are in five-star resorts in Pandawa will not see good occupancy or returns? Okay, Rafik's suffering some signal loss. Over to Tendi. What about you, Tendi? Do you think that these construction sites here, building five-star resorts, will the owners be happy with the performance when they release?
Because Pandawa is not the favorite location. Like
Right.
this, yeah, this is what location.
Okay. So this is not lean agile. This is fat and what's the opposite of agile? This is like kind of like fat and wasteful and unable to change course. This is like the Titanic. So the Titanic could see the iceberg when some guy in the Titanic could see the iceberg, but the Titanic still hit the iceberg. Why?
Because they think the ship is strong enough.
No. They didn't think the ship was strong enough. That wasn't why. What's the Dominic? Oh, Dominic, are you still working on the obey? Still working, yeah? Okay. Rafik, why did the Titanic still hit the iceberg? They saw the iceberg before they hit it, but then the Titanic still hit the iceberg.
I think it's because the ice is not hard.
Okay. No, the ice is super hard. The ice is harder than steel. Frozen ice can be harder than steel, and there's a lot of it. Remember, the steel on a ship is very thin. It's only like maybe an inch. An inch is huge. Maybe
It's
a
only
quarter.
the way, sir.
The what?
It's only the way is going there.
Yes. Basically, the Titanic can't change course very quickly, right? The ship is huge, and then to control the ship is very small. So the only way, it's going to hit it no matter what, right?
So it actually time was so short to change
Yes.
the direction.
The timing was short, so that's a lack of agility. There's no time to make the change, and even if you see it, you're still going to hit it. Think of this project right now at Pandawa. If they change it right now, then they lose 10 years worth of work, right? They lose all the permits, they lose all the design, they lose all the process that got them to this stage. So they can't change at this point. They're too committed to this design already to change. And if they build, they're screwed because nobody will stay there. But if they don't build, they're screwed because then they just have an empty piece of land. Okay? So that is the way that traditional, not agile industries work. It's basically a huge amount of waste. That even when you know that the problem is there, you can't do anything except just die, right? You have to just fall onto the problem. And then you start becoming hallucinatory. You start like making up weird facts, and you start like saying, oh yeah, the the luxury industry will recover. It's going to be this year better this year than last year. So then you start getting delusional because you can't face the reality that you just wasted 10 years and maybe $50 million. Okay? So that's what we do not want to be. We do not want to be like this ever. So what we do want to be is like what, Kuldeep?
Innovative,
By using what framework to be innovative?
lean and agile.
Lean and agile. We want to be a lean and agile company. Before we scale up, we always make sure that there will be somebody that will want to use our product. And before we go out and do something big, we want to make sure that there is a market for it. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, great. This applies to a lot of the ways that we work at Bukit Vista. Like expense reports, remember? We didn't ask everybody to do expense reports using... Actually, do we still use it? Are we using the expense reporting software?
Did you know me? No.
We didn't use it, yeah.
You can use the student sheet.
Yeah, we don't use it until the turn notice.
Okay, all right. That's an example of, I guess, the
I don't
innovation. Okay, maybe with finance, there needs to be a better practice using this system. But let's say, for example, we wanted to do this. Let's say, for example, tomorrow we wanted to use a different software. We want to get rid of Toki and use cloud beds. Would that be a good idea, Tendi, to have everybody use cloud beds tomorrow and get rid of Toki?
No, not good idea because you have to try SMP first.
Right. We have to have an MVP.
Get the result and then decide it.
Correct. But this part is also important. We can't get stuck on using an old technology that doesn't work either, right? Because if we stick with that, then later over time, that's okay, Rafik. Yeah, thank you. Later we'll get outdated too, and we won't be innovative. So, Tendi, in your opinion, what is the correct way to do this? So let's say there's a better technology that can work better for us. How should we integrate the new technology into the company?
First, we have to take some sample.
Mhm.
So after that's ready, we can move step by step
Okay.
until they all the properties move to the new channel manager.
Fantastic. Okay, so this is essentially taking the MVP, using it as a sample, understanding what the pros and cons are, and then once that specific case has been understood, then scaling out slowly to the rest of the population, right? Okay, makes sense, yeah? Okay, so this is the lean agile method. So the problem, let's say the pros and cons, you're going to have essentially a longer time to actually build lean agile culture than to actually use a command and conquer type culture. Like in a hotel, if you just say, all right, I'm going to just have the general manager make decisions and not anybody else, then it's much faster, right? Because there's only one person making decisions. You don't need to train thousands of people how to make decisions. But with our culture, this takes a longer time, right? You're training everybody, giving them context. There's a high amount of communication. There's a high amount of learning to be able to make decisions independently, okay? And also we know a lot of our employees are not accustomed to this style, and there's slower movement because the idea of independent thinking. Okay, all right, so basically, listen up guys. We're essentially building the race car right now. So if this is a race to become the most innovative hospitality company, we are still in the garage and we're working on the car. What is the car in this analogy, Dominic? If we're having a race and we're building a car, what is our company car?
The company car for the race.
Yeah. If we say that we're in a race to become the world's most innovative hospitality company, right? And we're building the car right now, what is actually the car? What is that analogy referring to?
I think that's the core values.
Yeah, very close. Okay, Tendi, what do you think? Oh, Rafik's wearing glasses. Okay. Tendi, what do you think?
The car is the hospitality service.
Okay, all right, let's go to Rafik. What do you think the car is? What is our company car? Rafik looks 10 times smarter with glasses.
The team was in.
Okay, the team. Okay, very good. And let's go to Kuldeep. What do you think the car is?
culture and the vision?
Yes, yes. It's a combination of the team and the culture, right? So the culture is essentially what we do normally, how we learn, what we do when there's a guest problem, how we use data. It's all the things, the core values, everything we do, right? It's the thousand things a thousand times. And then the team is the actual implementation of that. If you could say culture is the driver and the team is the car, right? In a way, culture will drive us to where we need to go. Culture will tell us what we need to do in certain decisions, and then the physical car itself is yes, the teams. Okay, so without this, we can never really become an innovative hospitality company. We might be an innovative hotelier as one person, but this is where the majority of the work is being done, and this is where the majority of the leadership efforts need to be around into creating the culture and creating the teams that align with these two principles. Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And this is needs to happen before we go on into projects and processes. Okay. It's back to the Spotify model. So remember, really good teams, really bad teams, mediocre teams. In really good teams, what you're looking for is you're looking for the leader essentially just defines the problem, right? We need to cross the bridge or we need to cross the river. And then different teams will come up with their own unique solution on how to fix that problem. Some people might use a boat, some people might build a bridge, some people might get a helicopter ride. However the problem is being solved, it's really up to the team itself to try and solve that problem. All we do is just set the vision as let's say leaders, right? And so when you're in the leadership guild, what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to create teams that can actually go, yeah, that's a great problem. I want to solve that. Let's say, for example, you have a cleanliness problem. So you as the leader would just say, we have this cleanliness problem. This is what the context has been. This has been happening for this amount of time. The leader is like this. And you essentially are you're just giving the specifications of the problem. And then your innovative team should be able to go out and then create the right solution for it. Are they going to do that today, Rafik? Or are they going to do that today, Tendi? Do you trust that your team can actually solve these kind of high-level problems now, Tendi?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great, fantastic. Then you have brought yourself towards this direction of creating an innovative hospitality company. What about you, Rafik? Do you believe that your teams can solve complex problems that have, let's say, real-world complications to them?
99.9.
Okay, very good, very good. So we're on our way then. We're on our way. And essentially, these are the two things that we're producing. We're producing projects and we're producing processes. And it's really through the processes and projects that that's the race, right? If you create the most innovative processes, like using WhatsApp communication for guests, like using like bigger for owner management dashboards, then these are essentially your innovation fruits. These are your deliverables. If you're creating projects like night shift, right, for Rafik so that we can cover all the hours, these are innovations. So these are essentially the races that you win, so to speak, when you have an innovative team and you have a fast race car. Okay, got it? Okay, all right, so that's our innovative roadmap. In the future, we will have also more things to do with publicity and partnerships and things like this that also will drive innovation too as well. And that will, I think, further strengthen our innovation culture. One of the ways that I've been measuring, let's say, how innovative we are is by looking at our project showcase. Dominic, do you know where we can find the Bukit Vista project showcase? Oh, Dominic's frozen. Oh wait, she's on frozen.
Isn't it on All Hands, sir?
Yes, it's right on the All Hands, and anybody who's
All
curious
Hands?
about it, yes. All Hands is our homepage. It's basically where everybody in Bukit Vista can go to find the connections to all the main documents. So yes, this is the project showcase, and I'll just show you a simple statistic. In 2018, we really had only one project, and there was really only one contributor. I believe that was Bayou. And in 2019, we have had 7+ projects, right? Quite a lot of projects. And I think we've had 3 to 5 contributors on these different projects. So just to remind everyone, to show you our heritage, to show you where we're coming from, I'd like to bring us back to the very beginning again and show you what actually has been a project here. So back in, let's say, 2016, oh wow, 2016 we had a single project that was Text Expander. Like nobody even realizes that was a project, right? That was to reduce the amount of typing that hosts would have to do, and we completed it.
On that time, we don't have Texas Panda, but a Texas.
Yes, we had. It was a project, and at the time it was still very new, and we started using that so that we could be more functional. And we used it to answer FAQs, and we also made sure that we were consistent in the welcome message, and also it saved a lot of time. Okay, in 2017, we created the content chapter in 2017. So that was an innovation, right? Before there was no content chapter, it was just functioning as a content contributor, and we came up with a mission for the content chapter, projects, and things that can be done. So at the time, we weren't even sure whether to outsource or to insource photography. We were still experimenting with photographers that we would call in, and we realized that the photography we could do in-house was actually of a better quality, more consistent, and allowed us to make deals faster. So this was an innovation. This didn't always exist here at Bukit Vista. Okay, and then in 2018, we have a few. We had two actually. We had BVRR, which we used so that Rafik wouldn't have to stay up all night and sort out all the arrival lists. And we also had Tableau so that we could talk intelligently about what we were doing as a business and not just wonder and worry and be like, are we doing as good as we did last month? So these were two innovations that happened in 2018, and we had the contributions there. And in 2019, we had some new innovations. We had, yes, sir.
We also have project for the channel manager on 2018.
Oh, right. So we started using Toki, right? We started using Toki. Was that correct? Yes. Okay. So we should put that there. Attendee, put it in. This is an open document. So if you remember a project, then go ahead and tag it and remind us that we've done this before. I think that's very inspirational, right? And it will show people where we've come from. So I'll tag your name here, Tendi, and just please go ahead and put that in. Okay. All right. I can't write now, Tendi, because if I write, it slows everything down. So just please remember. Okay. Next part. Thank you, Tendi. Next part is the market building sales funnel. I remember in the very beginning, leads were getting lost. We were sure who's working on which lead, what's the status of the lead, who brought in the lead, how are we going to, It was such a mess. So was it an email? Was it in a WhatsApp? Where's the lead, right? It was chaotic. So then we used Trello to start tracking our sales funnels, and that brought order to the market building process and allowed for many market builders to work on campaigns together. So once again, another innovation. And then we pivoted that, and then we started using that to human resources, right? We took that and we realized human resource was a very similar process as well, and it was having very similar frictions, and we applied Trello to our human resources. Now, Trello we use every day, yeah, so we don't even think about it anymore, but at the time, we were struggling to decide whether to use Trello or to use Google Sheets. Remember that, Rafik? Right. So that was an innovation, and that came in just this year. Okay, and then we pivoted again. We created a third flavor, and then we realized the owner relationships were also very difficult to manage, and then we created the owner relationship management, the PRM. So that allowed one tool to be used for 3 innovations and keep track of our 3 different groups, our employees, our partners, and our soon-to-be partners too as well. Okay, and then we started using HR adaptive evaluation forms. So this essentially was a way to screen candidates by giving them tests. So this has saved a lot of time, and it's saved. We don't do carousel interviews as much anymore. Remember that? Back in the day, we'd have you do an interview, Rafik, and then Tendi do an interview, and then we'd have like 5 interviews for each person, and it was terrible. It was so time consuming. So then we started creating adaptive evaluation forms where we look and we create quizzes, we create tests for certain roles, and then apply that to content, HR, some business development people, and that saved a lot of time. Okay, and then we did night shift. Rafik was the one to come up with this idea, and that was only in March this year, so less than about 8 months ago. We came up with this idea of doing night shift so that everybody could get some sleep, and it would just be essentially one person's job to keep that going. And then parliamentary process and democratic decision making. So before we had single leaders, and sometimes these leaders maybe not reliable or whatnot. So then we decided to make leadership, and then we would have tension. We'd have tension between leaders and people who are following the leaders. So we gave everybody the opportunity to lead at some point along their daily activity so that they get that experience. But also we created a system where we could always arrive at decisions together in a group. And now that I think has developed into the formation of a lot of guilds. Now we can have so many guilds because we have distributed leadership. And the guilds have then created career possibilities and opportunities and learning and all these different advancement techniques for everyone to become more advanced into their current job. Like what we're doing right now, right? We're all trying to get more leadership responsibility and leadership roles because we have a democratic process and because we have this leadership culture that's been distributed. Okay. Deba worked on front end, back end content production because we started hiring in Jogja and we were thinking about ways to split the work there between Jogja and Bali. Finance had a standard operating procedure to make that flow work a little bit better. And okay, so that's it, right? That's kind of like the summary of some of the projects. And you can kind of see every year we are increasing in the number of projects. We didn't put Ivan's project yet of auto review, but maybe we can do that too if we fully implement it. But there are more projects happening every year than the year before. So I'm pretty happy with that. I would say that that is an indication that innovation culture is happening and that we are innovating to create new things, okay? But in the future, I think it should be two numbers. How many projects that we have successfully completed and how many people are working, how many unique people are working on this. So if we have a true innovation culture and we're going to become a truly innovative hospitality company, we should have a lot of projects, right? And we should have almost like, let's say 50% of people are working on some sort of project at any given time. Okay? All right, that's pretty much almost the time that we have now. I took up most of the time to talk about innovation because I think this is an important topic and it was a topic that a lot of people are still unclear about. So is that better now? Yeah? Okay, Rafik understands it better, Tendi understands it better. Dominic, is that better? Is it kind of more clear where our innovation heritage, where we're going with innovation? Okay, I think, okay, great. All right, Kuldeep as well? Okay, all right, much better to understand. Just to also show you where we've come from before, let's say I wanted to show you guys these pictures, right? So this is a picture of how an Airbnb meetup that we did back in 2014, so this is 5 years ago, right? And during this meetup, it was essentially just a host award. We put up pictures, we put up, we have had some innovations from this. Does anybody recognize this? Tenny might recognize this.
STP.
Yeah, so we got the STP idea from actually this event. So when we were doing this event, somebody had, I forgot who inspired me, but somebody said you should have an engaging activity. So then we created this to engage our guests. And that has been an innovation that we have been using for the past 5 years, right? So so you can see different uses where people were doing that. So this is just to look back and see where we've been coming from and the types of events that we did before. You know, we did this also at STP before of using like essentially a feeling wall where people are free to write their emotions and their responses there. So that's kind of cool. Okay. The next item that I want to just make sure everyone knows is about this. This is a squad workflow and SLA. So between each chapter, it is meaningful to review these SLAs so that we don't get confused and we don't forget that we have certain obligations to other chapters. The one that I think I wanted to discuss today, but we're kind of out of time, is the one between the HR and the company. Because I understand right now that market building has taken, like, let's say, a different approach towards market building. So a full strength squad looks a little bit different than it used to. So in this particular case where there's been a change, Rafik, what should we do about this SLA?
Sorry, sir, I don't get it.
Okay, so let's say, for example, there is a new structure in place, right? There's an SLA between human resources and the company to ensure that all squad is not entirely, like one market builder doesn't do the entire process anymore. Market building kind of works in a pipeline now. Tris and Iksan will probably work on canvassing. Eggy will work on lead follow up, and then Nungli and Wayana will work on lead closing, right? So essentially, how does this affect the SLA, Dominic? Okay, Dominic's. All right, how does this affect the SLA 10? Go ahead.
So the full strength squad should have all of that except the content and market
Yes,
builder.
I think
Because also like a pass, like a whatever can take it.
yes, correct. So since there's an adjustment on the chapter, this SLA should also make some changes. Very good, Tendi. Thank you for making that observation. So since market building works as a chapter now, and they work between different squads for areas of coverage, this should actually come out. But the key roles, I think, are host, air support, and perhaps also I don't know if revenue management works the same way, where they can inter squad, but that's that. Okay, so this SLA review is important, and I would like, let's say everyone here is a host except for Kuldeep, right? So everyone's an HAR except Kuldeep, but refresh this from time to time with the counterparty. If you're an HAR, then you should have discussions with revenue management about, are you fulfilling this SLA between HAR and revenue management? And so that's just something we need to review, I think, at Leadership Guild. Okay, that pretty much summarizes it. That covers basically this thing that I really wanted to talk about. All good? Okay. All right. Let's just make sure we understood everything. Dominic, can you tell me what lean agile method is?
Lean agile method is like, yeah, it's the more effective way to do the task, and also after that what's next.
Lean agile and also mission driven.
I forgot what is mission driven. Mission driven is.
Mission driven is like this. Instead of, and imagine this, right? Imagine having a mission instead. It means that people are driving towards the front instead of being pushed from the back. So mission driven means like, hey, look, you do whatever you want today, and I'll meet you for dinner at this place, right? So essentially, everybody can sort of. Amazing Race is mission driven, right? Any race is mission driven. Everybody knows what to do. They know that the end goal is to cross the finish line, but how they get there, they'll use. Okay. All right. Tendi, can you give me a quick example of lean agile?
The quick example is like a bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So the first like we tried just only for the riflery. Then we collect some feedback, and then we continue to the payment report, and then to the property, and then so it's continue until that's become complete.
Very good. All right. Fantastic. And Rafik, can you give me an example of lean agile using a project that you've done?
Oh yeah, for example, like if we give like the iPad something,
Mm-hmm.
and then we must have like an MVP first.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, don't buy all that one and then we pack up later,
Mm-hmm.
but choose it as MVP. And then, for example, one or two guest house or villa use that one,
Mm-hmm.
and then keep walking. We buy just continuously. It's not all first and then pack up later.
Okay.
And just continue it.
Okay.
MVP.
Fantastic. That sounds great. I would also say, Rafik, in your case, night shift was also lean agile. So you were the first person using it, and you got to know what the entire process was like, so that when that process was confident and you could see that it could be done, then you can invite other people to do it too and realize that it was actually possible. Instead of getting everybody to do night shift on the very first try, which actually could cause some breakages. Okay, all right, fantastic. So I think we've talked about that. Have a good day, everyone, and yeah, we'll reconvene next week at 3:00. I'll send out the reminder at 2:30, and we'll talk more about leadership. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Everyone.